It's the book club, and this time a brilliant novella about one man and his dog and how they kept their town safe. This is Good Boy by Neil McRobert. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dave Musson, and this is a place where often I talk to you about Stephen King or scary movies, but in this series I'm talking great horror books. Yes, this is my book club where I recommend to you a horror book that isn't written by Stephen King that I've read recently and I think that you will enjoy as much as I did. It's all positivity here, no negativity. And in each episode of the book club, I give you a synopsis of the book, a bit about the author, my spoiler-free review. I try and align it to a Stephen King book to give you that point of reference. And hey, I just want you to go and read it. And if you enjoy these books, make sure you rate and review them on Amazon, Goodreads, Storygraph, all of those places. And if you really like them, rave about them to your friends, talk about them on social media, buy them copies, send them your favourite quotes, all of that kind of stuff. Get people enthused about these great books, okay? And if you want more recommendations from my book club, check out the full playlist. There's more than 60 in there now. Loads of options for you. Lots of newish releases and a few as well that are sort of been sitting on my shelf for a while that I just hadn't got around to. So plenty for you to explore. So this time I'm talking about a book that came out fairly recently. It's part of Wild Hunt Books' Northern Weird series, and it's Good Boy, the debut novella by Neil McRobert, who is the host of the brilliant Talking Scared podcast. I had a lot of fun with this story, so let's get into it. Here's Good Boy on the book club. Right, synopsis for you. It meets the fisherman in this story of supernatural horror, nostalgia and mystery. After a boy vanishes on the outskirts of a small northern town, a woman spies from her window a mysterious man digging a grave in the exact spot of the disappearance. However, when she confronts him, the man's true purpose is far more chilling than she could have imagined, and the history of the town's fatal past unfolds. What has been hiding in this small northern town all these years? And here's a bit about the author for you. Neil McRobert is a writer, podcaster and recovering academic. He fled the haunted halls of higher education to settle in an old northern village where he writes about scary things and runs the landmark horror podcast Talking Scared. There's your background. Here's my spoiler-free review of Good Boy. So what a terrific story this is. This is a completely engrossing yarn that is perfect for an autumnal evening and is full of horror and heart in true Stephen King-like fashion. It's clear that the author has learned an awful lot from his 5 years or so hosting Talking Scared and interviewing lots of other horror authors. The writing here is so accomplished, so confident, and just so impressive for a debut full-length piece of work. Now, I loved the story within a story structure here. We get this great hook at the start of this man digging a grave at a spot where a child has gone missing, digging a grave to bury his dog at the point where the child's gone missing. What is going on here? That hooks you in, but then you get the actual story. And I read that in one sitting. I couldn't have stopped if I'd wanted to. It was so engrossing. Aside from the story, the characters here are brilliant. Now, Riot the dog is obviously going to get top billing for most people, and this feisty little bundle of energy is a great character and one you really enjoy reading about. But it's also hard not to love Jim, Riot's human and our narrator. He's flawed, he's real, he's kind of weary from the life that he's had to live because of what he explains in the story. And yeah, he's just someone that you feel like you can get along with. I actually also really love the Britishness of it. I'm very much in favour of more British authors writing horror in a way that sounds like they are in Britain and from Britain and not just trying to emulate American authors. Like, I've always been a fan of British horror. We've got such a rich culture of weird stuff, and I love seeing that Britishness come through. And this particular story, set in the hills of Lancashire, is just a great example of why we need more stuff like this from British authors. Embrace your Britishness. Yes, I know there's a lot to be ashamed about of Britain, but our culture of ghost stories and spooky stuff, that's something we are good at. So lean into that, folks. Let's also talk about the monster in this story, because there is a monster, and it is this uncanny valley being with a, quote, piranha smile that was hugely unsettling and unnerving and disturbing. It was as weird as it was scary, and I mean that as a compliment. Also, this monster is referred to as a boggart in this story, and I love the author for doing their bit to reclaim that word from She Who Must Not Be Named. Excellent work. So comparing this to a Stephen King story, and I should point out that Stephen King himself offers a little blurb for the book here, because Neil McRobert has interviewed King a couple of times. Stephen King is a fan of this book. Now, the synopsis of the book mentions it, and I can totally see that. Children in peril, stuff returning every few years. Yeah, it's got that structure. But for me also, the big one is From a Buick 8. It had huge From a Buick 8 vibes. This first person narrative that is weird and haunting and horrific, yet fundamentally human, but also brings in like weird cosmic stuff, purple light, dogs in peril, that kind of thing. Yeah, it totally works. A totally engrossing story. And if you don't like From a Buick 8, don't worry, because this is nothing like From a Buick 8. It's just got those vibes. It's just the sort of let me sit down and tell you a weird story kind of thing. And I know that Neil McRobert is a big fan of From a Buick 8, so I don't think that's an accident. So to sum up, I loved this book. There's something I should address here though, because I know a lot of people who read horror get nervous when there's a dog in a book. They get nervous as to whether the dog's going to survive. It's not a spoiler here to say that the dog does not survive. The dog is being buried at the very start of the book, but there's no cruelty to the dog here. And when you get to the point of the story where Riot passes away, it is so wonderfully written that even if you don't like seeing dogs die in stories, you won't help but be moved by how it is got across in this one. Actually, you know, the whole damn thing is brilliantly written, and it's capped off with a quite perfect ending that I just absolutely loved. In short, wonderful work, and I'm already looking forward to reading more from this author, should he ever find time to write something else, given how busy he is. This one is out now, available wherever books are sold from Wild Hunt Books. Get it direct from the publisher if you can, or do like I did and go to your independent bookshop. And this is one of a series of 6 novellas, all set in the north of England. And let me tell you, I'm going to be checking out the other 5. So there we go, Good Boy on the book club. If you read this one, let me know what you think. And have you read any of the others in the Northern Weird series? Which one should I go to next? If you have, get involved. That's about it. If you've made it this far, I'm going to throw some plugs at you. They're all linked below, but those things are my collection of short stories, Once More Around the Sun, my Stephen King trivia book, my range of Stephen King themed band shirts, which you can check out, and the fact that you can become a constant viewer, become a member of this channel, support me directly, get extra content, all of that kind of stuff. All linked below. If none of that works for you, no problem. Just watching this video is fine. Much appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and tell a friend so they can get involved too. And otherwise, I will see you soon, either for horror movie stuff in Silver Scream, Stephen King stuff, or back here next week for another book recommendation on the book club. Take care and happy reading.